Welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives those back-of-the-grid cars through Formula One's more recent past, from 2010 all the way through to the present day, whenever that may be. And it's round number 2 of the 2011 season, and we're at Malaysia, the Sepang International Circuit, one that's much loved by Formula One fans, and one that we sadly don't get to drive around very often anymore, or watch cars go round either. Which I personally think is a shame. This is a fun circuit to drive, really enjoyable place, while our 2010 result didn't really mirror the enjoyment that I have for driving this place. Hopefully this season can be better. But let's take a look at what happened in the last race at Australia, round number 1. As we jump into the standings, we finished P18, a lap down on eventual winner Sebastian Vettel. We had a fun little battle with Sergio Perez and Paul di Resta near the tail end of the race, but just tyre wear is a monster on this game because of these early Pirelli tyres. We also, at one point, were running as high as 14th up around the likes of Sutil and Buemi. But we beat the other Lotus, or Team Lotus, shall we say, the 2 HRTs and the 2 Virgin Racers, and just edged out Rubens Barrichello as we were essentially tiptoeing around the final lap with ruined rear tyres. As I mentioned, Sebastian Vettel took the victory there ahead of teammate Mark Webber, who in our universe, in this run-through, is defending world champion. Felipe Massa finished third in the Ferrari, ahead of Button, Alonso, Hamilton, Petrov, Alguersuari, Heidfeld and Schumacher, who took the points at Australia, and that meant that in the Constructors we are 10th, just ahead of Marussia Virgin Racing, or Virgin Racing as we're going to refer to them as, and HRT. But we're behind the likes of Force India, Williams and Sauber. Mercedes fell behind Toro Rosso thanks to Alguersuari's good result, while the other Lotus, the Lotus Renault team, are 4th, but Red Bull picking up from where they left off in 2010, leading the way, with Ferrari and McLaren also picking up from where they left off in our 2010 in 2nd and 3rd. But round 2 is another race. It is Malaysia, it is Sepang, and you know, I feel like we are going to struggle for a lot of this season, but retirements, accidents for the AI, and weather could all play a part. And this is one of those circuits where weather can be a thing that crops up and puts a bit of a spoiler on people's day. But I've not bothered looking at the forecast, so I don't know if that's going to happen. And if it does, great. Maybe we'll have an opportunity. But let's get into it. Let's go and run some laps around the Sepang International Circuit. And while we do, we'll talk about the real world 2011 Malaysian Grand Prix. Round 2 of the 2011 season saw the teams and drivers head to Malaysia in the ever-popular Sepang circuit. After failing to qualify for the first round, HRT were confident that they would be able to participate after their 2011 spec front wing passed the mandatory crash test set by the FIA. Pirelli were also predicting a high deg race due to the high temperature and abrasive surface of the Kuala Lumpur circuit, meaning that pit stop strategy would be key for the race. The practice session saw multiple incidents and issues across the field. Jerome D'Ambrosio suffered a catastrophic suspension failure in the first session, while Lotus Renault also found a fault with their suspension uprights, limiting their running through the second session as well. Pastor Maldonado crashed entering the pit lane during that second session, while Liuzzi in the HRT also stopped on track. Vettel would spend the first session developing Red Bull's unraced KERS device, leaving him down in 17th place. But Red Bull didn't have to be too sad. Webber topped the first session ahead of Hamilton and Schumacher. He'd also then topped the second session ahead of Button, while Hamilton would break that Red Bull stranglehold in the final session, leading the way there.
Great lap, that's the quickest of the session so far.
Qualifying was interrupted early in the first session when Buemi's Toro Rosso decided to undress out on track, shedding its side pod bodywork along the back of the circuit on a flying lap. It led to a red flag, while many drivers had to abort their flying laps, which included the Ferrari pair, who were out on the hard tyre, and they had to sacrifice a soft tyre run to make sure they made it through. Even with this stoppage, though, it was the usual suspects. Out in Q1, Team Lotus led the Virgin Racing cars and the HRTs, who had both this time made it within the 107% time and could take the start, while Pastor Maldonado would be the established car that dropped out in his Williams in P18. Much like the previous round, Michael Schumacher was knocked out in Q2, joined by both Toro Rosso's both Force India's Rubens Barrichello and Sergio Perez, while Kamui Kobayashi managed to get his saver into Q3. It was, though, once again Vettel that took pole position ahead of Hamilton, Webber and Button. Ferrari found themselves a little ways off the pace for the second round running. Alonso took 5th, Massa took 7th, while the top 10 saw both Lotus Renaults and Rosberg, along with the aforementioned Kamui Kobayashi. When the lights went out, Sebastian Vettel immediately ran away, leaving a fast-starting Nick Heidfeld, who navigated his way to second place in his Lotus Renault. It was, however, a race of very little incident for Malaysia, with both Williams cars, both HRTs, Perez, Petrov, Trulli and D'Ambrosio retiring, but very, very few other incidents of note across the race distance.
Tyres and brakes are at optimal temperature.
This meant that Vettel cruised to a second victory of the season and his 4th or 5th in a row at this point, despite managing a KERS issue through the second half of the race, while Button came home in second. Heidfeld managed to hang on to 3rd, bringing home Lotus Renault's 2nd podium of the season, while Webber, Massa, Alonso, Kobayashi, Hamilton, Schumacher and De Resta would complete the points picture in that order, Hamilton down in 7th. And only the top 11 stayed on the lead lap, Adrian Sutil being the 11th person to finish the full race distance. How are we going to fare in Sepang? This wasn't our best race of 2010, but it wasn't by far our worst. But as we demonstrated in Australia last time out, the AI has taken quite the step up, and our Team Lotus T128 is seemingly still just a little bit off the pace. Even with the addition of DRS and the ability to actually really chuck it around, which is something obviously we didn't have with the VR01 last year. I'd like to think that we can once again at least better our immediate rivals. We seem to at least have the pace on the likes of Trulli, D'Ambrosio, Glock, Katakale and Liuzzi, and we might even be able to jump an established car like we did in Australia. So let's aim to try and top Q1, narrow that gap maybe a little bit, and try and take P18 to start the Malaysia Grand Prix. Here we are then in the garage for Q1 at Malaysia, which I'd kind of forgotten.
It's going to be a struggle to get out of this session, but give it your best shot.
Thanks, Andy. That's the confidence I needed. Kind of forgotten that this is actually this team's home race. Team Lotus, or Lotus Racing, or Caterham, or whatever they want to be called over the few years, obviously run by Malaysian businessman Tony Fernandez and registered as a Malaysian team. So this is our home race. We were knocked out in Q1 in Australia. Practice times suggest that that will be the same here. But let's go get some laps on the board and see if we can squeeze our way into Q2.
Your time through Sector 1 is good, but you're dropping a lot in Sector 3.
Well, let's take a look at the fastest lap in Q1. Much like Australia, we're already on lap 6. You can run quite a few laps consecutively at this point in time in Formula 1. And as you can see, we're actually kind of hanging around the lower mid-pack. Petrov and Schumacher are immediate cars around us. Already a tenth and a bit up in Sector 1. We seem to really get a lovely run through turns 1 and 2 during qualifying, which really benefited our lap times. But we seem to just lack the downforce through here. Run a touch wide and just keep our foot in it to hope to not lose too much time. This double right proved a little bit problematic, and as you can see, we've gone from 14th to 17th in just a few corners, really highlighting the difference in speeds. Nice and neat through there. We get a little bit of wheel spin on exit, but we're nearly half a second up here. And I'm thinking that, you know what, we're only 9/10 of a second off Petrov. We might be able to do something.
We need to be 17th or higher to get into the next session. We need a quick lap.
Nudged into the drop zone once again, just ahead of Trulli, who's jumped Schumacher, and we're just behind Barrichello. But that corner there, that penultimate corner, just struggled to ever get the line.
Come in before you run out of fuel. Pit
But
within
we're
2 laps.
absolutely maxing on attack down here into the hairpin. Try and keep it nice and neat and tight. Miss the apex by an absolute country mile, but we can slingshot our way through the final corner. Gun it for the line, and we stay 18th.
The final 2 sectors are purple, but you're losing a little through Sector 1.
So a Q1 elimination for the second race in a row. We finish 19th, just behind Barrichello and just ahead of our teammate Trulli, along with the HRT of Liuzzi, the Virgin Racing cars of Glock, D'Ambrosio and Kartikeyan at the back in the other HRT. It's just margins, tight margins to Barrichello, who seems to really be having the worst of it in the Williams. Because at the end of Q1, Maldonado, his teammates, up in 12th. But that once again means that we are going to be starting down where we probably should be, heading into that tough turn 1. And it does mean that, once again, points probably quite the distance off the table. But race day is a different day altogether. So, let's head over to the 2011 Malaysian Grand Prix. Here we are then in the garage for the Malaysian Grand Prix. And we start P19. There's a 28% chance of rain, so we might see some drizzle in this one. But let's take a look at the grid order. Jenson Button took pole ahead of Felipe Massa, with Hamilton in 3rd, Alonso 4th. Championship leaders Red Bull 5th and 6th, with Webber ahead of Vettel, then Rosberg, Petrov, Heidfeld and Schumacher. Kobayashi, Perez, Di Resta, Sutil, Buemi and Alguersuari and Maldonado out in Q2 after an impressive Q1 for Pasta. He ends up just ahead of his teammate Barrichello, who dropped out in Q1. There we are ahead of the other Team Lotus of Jarno Trulli, the HRT of Liuzzi, the 2 Virgin Racing cars of Glock and D'Ambrosio, and then the other HRT of Kartikeyan at the back. Well, the first race and this so far are kind of demonstrating that the legendary AI, while driving a Lotus, or Team Lotus, I really need to keep stressing that so I don't get confused with the Lotus Renaults further up the order, really showing that there is a bit of a step up between 2010 and 2011. And it does mean that our targets are probably going to be quite low all year, and we've got to see if we can match them. The team want us to finish 18th. We finished 18th in Australia after running as high as 14th. I reckon here there are a lot of long straights, but that tricky kind of first couple of corners, we might be able to jump a few people, and then it's really just trying to stay in front of them. Obviously no Kers on this car, and we'll only get DRS if we're in the second to somebody. I'd like to aim for much more than we've got, but I don't think it's going to be very likely. Let's say P18 again and try and match the team's objective we did in round 1, and they were happy with that. Yeah, we could have finished as high as 16th, but tyre wear was an issue. If we get rain, that could change everything. And as I said in round 1, safety cars are a thing, so we might get one of those, but it's all hopes more than anything else. Let's head over to the grid for Malaysia 2011. A button on pole with Massa next to him, the McLarens and the Ferraris going well here. There we are, P19, and just next to us, Jarno Trulli in P20. Home race for Team Lotus.
Home race. Everyone's desperate for a good result.
Right, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5, and away we go in Malaysia. And much like Australia, we get a decent start. And Sutil's had a terrible one, which has kind of stacked everybody behind him up. Getting a bit too overcautious on the brakes there, but look at this. We're right up behind Nick Heidfeld in the Lotus Renault. Everybody struggling to get through these first couple of corners. Me and Bawabi have made a fantastic start. Vettel being hounded by Schumacher, and now he'll be hounded by us. Petrov's up in 5th. We are going to go P7. At least for now. With Schumacher right in behind us. What a start that was through the first few corners. Petrov seems to be attacking the McLaren. All those guys up into us. Not exactly being dropped yet by Alonso, but here comes Schumacher. Brake Darcell's running wide, trying to defend, and he goes back through. Well, we end lap 1 in P8 from being P19 on the grid. Brake Schumacher. But we're forced wide. Sebastian Vettel an opportunity here. Alonso, though, really struggling to get past Petrov, which is actually keeping Schumacher and him fairly close. That was a bit too early, but we're okay. Let's try and put it into rich mix to try and defend from the Red Bull. It would be really nice if we could finish in the points, but I don't think it's incredibly likely.
DRS is now enabled.
He should go for it, but he decides to back out of it. We run wide into turn 1. Nice and tight through turn 2. Schumacher now. Petrov, Alonso, Schumacher. That little clutch starting to pull away. As you'd expect, really. We are essentially the leader of a train practically all the way to the back, apart from our little clutch of rivals. They're still fighting up ahead. We're not quick enough to catch, but we're not disappearing away from us. They're our ahead as run wide and Vettel goes through. Yeah, he's struggling through corners here.
Button's just put in a new fastest lap.
Now has to defend.
According to our estimates, Vettel should be stopping for tyres in 3 laps' time.
It's just amazingly a circuit that the AI don't like. Because if it is, then great, let's try and take advantage. Just too cautious through the first couple of corners. We're being cautious there ahead of Buemi. Being cautious enough there though, as Buemi will go through easily. It's really early into the hairpin though, we can, even with dragging on the apex, we can get through. Constantly looking behind. We lead this train from 9th down to probably about 16th, 17th. We will once again, with DRS, have a go. We once again won't try and force the issue up the inside. I've just gone for that myself, but never mind.
Webber's really going for it. He's just put up a new fastest lap.
A few people coming in with us. Rosberg stayed out, Buemi stayed out.
Go now. There's some traffic at the pit exit. Watch out as you rejoin the track.
A bit wide on the exit
Picked up
pits.
some marbles. Expect reduced grip until you can wear them off. Stay on the racing line.
Come back out in 14th. Cars in the pits, so run wide through the hairpin. I'm hoping we can jump a couple of these guys.
There are quite a few cars in the pits right now. Watch out for cars exiting the pits.
There's P10, there's Sergio Perez. Buemi and Perez managed to jump us.
Yano is in the pits.
Best ain't lap, I guess, but didn't get beat bad. Now we've got Rosberg for company. Can we be within DRS range of Perez, I wonder? Great if we were. Doesn't look like we are, though. Rosberg, unlike those before him, going for the move. A little bit of contact, but nothing too bad. We keep the Mercedes behind us. Starting to lose Perez.
Buemi should be coming in to change his tyres within the next 4 laps.
Trying to go up the inside there, Rosberg.
Okay, times are looking good. You're matching race pace.
There was just enough room for him to go as we Get a little loose through 1 and 2. We've now got, I think, Sutil and Kobayashi in there. Not as big a train as we had earlier in the race, but starting to develop again as Rosberg will once again have another little look. Oh, I lost the position to Vettel. Rosberg, though, doesn't make it through. Rosberg nearly up and under. Doesn't quite make it. We're just going to hold this position, or at least that's what I thought, as Rosberg then goes through. Looks like Vettel earlier, though.
We're 7 places up on our predicted finish. Come on, keep going.
Kind of actually forced Rosberg wide and Sutil's gone through. Rosberg's gone back past Adrian Sutil. That's not quite the Mercedes dominance we saw a few years down the line from here, but they were really starting to get their act together in 2011. That'll let Rosberg through. On the marbles, that was it, we were wide, but look how early the AI brake. I'm going to be the one with DRS now. We'll pass Nico Rosberg on merit there. Back into P11. It really is just about pride at the moment, but I think this would actually better, if I remember rightly, Team Lotus's best result in 2011 in round 2. Checking those tyres. Okay, then a lap or so before these guys as well. I anticipate that they'll do the same sort of thing this time round, go a lap later. That all wrong through there though. Scruffy lap. Rosberg's got Kobayashi behind him now. So this train probably runs down to about, well, where did it say I'll rejoin if I pit? 18th, so yeah, I guess this train runs down.
Light rain in 15 minutes time. 15 minutes.
Possibility of rain in 15 minutes as I'll give Rosberg an open door into turn 1 and he just won't take it. Oh, it might just affect the couple of laps, final couple of laps, should I say, as now Kobayashi's ahead of Rosberg after blocked him out there into turn 2 and he's lost a position. He's now under threat from Sutil.
Alonso's the fastest man on the track at the moment.
Just like we did a few laps ago, we've run wide. Once again now. Use the DRS to try and attack Kamui Kobayashi if we really need to. We run it up the inside of the Sauber and box him out on the exit.
Pit in this lap. Come into the pits at the end of this lap.
He's now busy defending. As I'm quite worn, I might. If I come in now, I rejoin 11th, which would suggest that I'm coming in with everybody behind me. Just about edge ahead of Kobayashi there. Maldonado looks to be the only one that's staying out. And DeResta as well. Everybody else, though, in Rosberg did get past Kobayashi there. Our aim is essentially going to be to try and get this lap in quick enough to jump Maldonado. Go, go, go. Oh, no, we're held.
Go.
We've fallen behind everybody that we came in with.
The track is clear. Track is clear.
And we run far too deep into turn 1.
You have no more scheduled pit stops, so look after your tyres.
And that means we've lost everybody. That is infuriating. Happened a couple of times in season 1 in 2010 as well, where we just get held. I do believe that they probably could have got me out in front of Rosberg.
Looking at the radar, looks like we might have light rain in about 15 minutes.
Possible light rain in 15. May just affect the end of the race. And we're not even going to beat Maldonado and DeResta. That is a shame. Alright, well. It was a valiant effort, that's for sure, trying to hold on to P11. Front wing there though. Lots of debris and cars going really slowly.
So far.
Paul DeResta's missing a front wing. Don't know who he's hit his car on, but whatever it is.
The car behind you has no grip on the high-speed corners. He's got front wing damage. Let's pull out a gap.
Smashed his front wing. I think getting caught up behind Vitantonio Liuzzi, who they were lapping.
Alonso's the fastest man on the track at the moment.
We run wide. And Kobayashi got stuck behind him as well, so P15. A couple more places recovered. Assume everybody in front of me has done the extras pit stop. The extras? The extra pit stop, done the 2 stops already.
We think there's a chance of light rain in 10 minutes time. 10 minutes.
Rain's not going to affect this race. Lapping traffic might. I can see that the clutch of cars up ahead are closing on Jarno Trulli. As we've just seen, lapping Liuzzi has cost Kobayashi and DeResta, and Albert Schwarz using the 16th. Well now, I can see rain. So the wet weather might actually affect the last couple of laps of this race. Starting to get some spray kicked up. Doesn't look like anybody else is pulling the trigger on changing tyres, though.
We're starting to see light rain out on track. It's starting to rain. Understood.
Somebody's come in, one of the back markers. Heifeld's now behind us, so we're still beating a Lotus Renault, that's something. And a distance behind as well. Two cars have come in, I think.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Massa puts a lap on us. It's a shame we're so close to actually doing a full distance here. They will back off and let Button through, and then just stops on the apex. We'll run off track. That'll help. There's Mark Webber. He should be able to just get by. He does. As we begin our final lap of this race, as we've just been lapped recently. We're getting quite wet, but it's too late in the day, I think, for anybody to be coming in and bolting on a set of the inters, so it's a case of being careful as we let both Alonso and Hamilton through. Heidfeld is closing as we get out of everybody's way. Actually, quite a decent home Grand Prix for Team Lotus. I mean, ignore Jarno Trulli down back on his own. But we ran as high as P7. We were fighting with the man behind us at one point, Sebastian Vettel. As we try and get out the German's way.
The car behind's catching you.
That's Nick Heidfeld. That's the man we want to try and finish ahead of.
Now. Blue flag no longer applies.
The track is soaking. Felipe Massa wins in Malaysia as the rain comes down. Break into the final corner. And just keep it neat as Heidfeld and Alguersuari sense an overtake on, but they don't get it. We finish P15 in Malaysia. Well, I will absolutely take a P15 here at Kuala Lumpur. It wasn't as good as it possibly could have been, I guess. We were running really, really, really well at one point. Up in 7th place, fighting with the likes of Sebastian Vettel and fighting with the likes of Michael Schumacher, Nico Rosberg and the like. We slipped backwards a little bit during the first pit stop, down to 11th, just out the points, and then jumped in the pit stop phase in the second one to finish 15th lap down. Felipe Massa was the man that took the victory ahead of Button and Webber. Then it was Alonso, Hamilton, Vettel, and then Petrov, Schumacher, Perez and Buemi took points. We were again ahead of those guys just before the second pit stop. Rosberg's 11th with Sutil, Barrichello. Maldonado fell behind his teammate right at the end there. And there we are ahead of Heidfeld in the Lotus Renault. So we've at least beaten a Lotus Renault this season, at least once. Alguersuari, Kobayashi, Di Resta, Glock, Trulli, Kartikayan, D'Ambrosio and Vitantonio Liuzzi. How does that affect the driver's standings? We remain 18th with no points, but still ahead of Di Resta, Glock, D'Ambrosio, Trulli, Kartikayan, Liuzzi. At the top, Massa now leads the championship by 7 points ahead of Vettel and Webber, who are 3 points ahead of Button. Alonso a little further back, Hamilton also a little further back. Petrov with 12 points ahead of Schumacher, Alguersuari, Heidfeld, Perez and Buemi. Only 12 people have scored points so far. Rosberg is not one of those. But as I say, we're still ahead of the Virgin Racing cars, the other Team Lotus, the HRTs, and a Force India, so that's something. Of course, in 2010, we already had a single point after Bahrain in round 1. Not so this season so far, but we showed a little bit of promise there. In the Constructors, we remain ahead of Virgin Racing and HRT, just behind Williams and Force India. At the top, Red Bull lead the way by 4 points ahead of Ferrari. McLaren a bit cut back in third. Then it's Lotus, Renault, Mercedes, Toro Rosso and Sauber. 7 of the teams have scored points so far. Well, eventful is how I'd put that Malaysian Grand Prix. And actually not too bad. We can at least mix it with those midfield-ish sort of cars, I guess. And with any luck, we can replicate that going forwards. It's China next, I think, at Shanghai, a similar sort of circuit. And in 2010, a similar sort of circuit for us in terms of, hey, the race looked okay, and then it kind of collapsed thereafter. We got a better result here, I think, than we did in 2010, though. So we have beaten a 2010 result early doors at Malaysia. Hopefully, though, we can better it and we can start putting points on the board in the next few rounds. But as always, thank you so much for joining me here for Blue Flag Bandits. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the good stuff. I'll see you for the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.